Okay, so the next shape we're going to be talking about is rectangles. So we know rectangles have all the properties of parallelograms. So the opposite angles are equal, consecutive angles add up to 180, the diagonals are bisected. Plus it has extra properties. So what are the extra properties? Well, we know rectangles have 4 right angles. So in just a rectangle, we know, oh, the corners are 90 degrees, so I put the little box in the corners. But if there are diagonals, what does that mean? Well, that means that these angles in the corner, so like this angle, that side, and this side, would be adding up to 90 degrees because we know that corner is 90. So in this corner, they should be adding up and equaling 90. And that should happen in all the corners. They should add up and equal to 90. All the corners. So we're going to write that for all of them. Okay. So if you know one side, then you're writing that equation to solve because you know that they should be adding up to 90. Well, what else do we know about the angles? Well, some of the angles in a rectangle are equal because we see that there's all these little triangles in there. So we're going to mark which angles are equal. So I'm going to put little dots in the corners of the ones that are equal. So we know that these sets, those two are equal, and the ones in the bottom are equal. If we look, those triangles are actually equal to each other. They look exactly the same. So that means that those angles are going to be equal. Well, what other angles are equal? Well, those are equal, and the ones on the other sides, those are also all the same, okay? But we also have some angles in the middle that are equal. So the ones on the top and the bottom, those ones right there, those are going to be equal because of vertical angles, because it makes an X in the middle. And what's color we haven't used? Green. These ones on the other side also equal because of vertical angles, okay? So it's important that you look at these and see which ones are equal. So if I know one of these angles, I can fill in that number in all the places that are equal to that angle. That's going to be important when we're answering those questions. What else do we got? We got that the diagonals are equal. So that means this whole line, which would be JL, is equal to the other diagonal, which is MK. And since those are equal, and we know that diagonals get cut in half because of parallelograms, that like all of those little parts, all of those lines are equal to each other. So those are properties you're going to need to know in some of our questions. And the last thing, since the diagonals are equal and we know that these are right angles in the corner, you can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared to figure out the length of the diagonal. If they tell you the two sides of the rectangle and want to know the diagonal, either way you can use it because both of the diagonals we just learned are equal. So let's get to some examples. So number 1 says find the measure of the angles in the rectangle. So I know based on my properties right here, I know some of the angles are equal. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out over here, we're going to fill in all the angles that are 58. So using my notes, I can see which angles are the 58. Well, I know 58 is here. I know 58 is up here. And it's in the triangle across from this, 58 and 58. So that told me angle 1 was 58, so we can fill that in. That told me angle 3 was also 58, so we're going to fill that in. So I fill in all the angles that I know that are the same as the number they gave me. The next thing, we're going to get the angles next to 58 in the 90-degree corner. So it'd be helpful if I had a pen. Here we go. So I want to figure out what is the angle on this side next to 58. So I'm going to put an X over there because I need to figure out what that is. I know that the angles in the corner should be adding up to 90 degrees. So this is the equation I'm going to write. X plus 58 equals 90. Yahoo. So we solve that. Oh, we minus 58. And we get X equals 90 minus 58 is 32. Okay. So that means this corner next to 58 is 32. So I'm going to fill that in all of the corners next to the 58. So that means over here is also 32, down here is 32, and over here is 32. So that told me angle 2 was 32. Okay, now how are we going to get the angles in the middle? Well, angles in the middle, we're going to use the triangles, something adding up to 180, to get the angles in the middle. So let's look at, well, which angle do I actually want? I want angle 4. Angle 4 is in this triangle right here. So I'm going to use the numbers in that triangle adding up to 180. So here we go. What are the numbers in that triangle? I got a 58, and angle 4 we're going to say is x. So that's my equation, 58 plus x adds up to 180. And we're going to solve. Okay, so we add our 58 plus 58. I don't know what that is, so let's add it. 58 plus 58 is 116 plus x equals 180, and then minusing 116 to the other side. So that crosses out. This is x. 180 minus 116 is 64. So that tells me that the angle in the middle, where the 4 is, should we just figure out 64? But that means this side is also 64. And that was where angle 4 was. So we're going to put 64 for that angle. And now I'm done. I have answered and found all the angles they wanted me to find. Okay? So we're pretty much using this process every time. Fill in the numbers. Like, they're going to have to give you one of the numbers. Fill in wherever that can go. That should always be your first step. So in number 2, it's a similar question. But this time they're starting out by giving me the angle in the middle. So first step, we're going to fill in, where else can I put 124? Well, in this question, since this is in the middle, I put this across. Like, I could look at the notes to see where else this angle was, but I can see that's a 124. Does that help me answer any of these yet? No, because this wasn't one of the ones I wanted. Okay, well, that's okay. Okay, next step. I'm using the triangle, something about 180, to get the other angles in this 124 triangle. So this 124 triangle is this triangle right here. And I'm going to be ending up getting angle 1 out of that. Now I know from looking at my notes that this angle and this angle should be the same. So if they're both the same, then I can put an x in both of the angles because they're the same thing. So x and x. And now I use, oh, this is a triangle, and it should be adding up to 180. So that's the equation I'm going to write. X plus 124 equals 180. Okay, so we're solving this, combining our like terms. X plus x is 2x. Drop down the 124. Now we're moving 124 by subtracting that to the other side. Okay. Drop down our 2x. 180 minus 124. 180 minus 124 is 56. 56. And then divide by 2. And I get x equals something. 56 divided by 2 is 28. So I'm going to fill that in my triangle. I just got x was 28. So this is 28. This is 28. Where else in the rectangle is the 28? Well, in this triangle up here and down here in the other 124 triangle. So this is 28. This is also 28. So that finally filled in some numbers. I got angle 1 was 28 and angle 2 is also 28. Okay. Yay. Well, I still need angle 3 and 4, so here we go. So now we're using the angles in the 90-degree corners to get angle 3. So I know that this corner right there, that should be adding up to 90 because rectangles, the corners are 90, and I know this side is a 28. I'm going to put x in angle 3 because that's what I'm looking for. So I have x plus 28 should add up to 90. Okay, so we're subtracting 28. Subtracting 28 cancels out. X equals 62. So this corner is 62, which is angle 3, 62. Where else in the picture? I'm going to fill in everywhere else that there's a 62. So that's going to be over here in this corner, 62. And over here, 62 and 62. Okay, well, I still don't have an angle 4. So how am I going to get this part? Well, I'm going to use the triangles adding up to 180 to get angle 4. So here we go. Here's the triangle with angle 4 in it. And I know 2 of the angles. And now I know that it should be adding up to 180. So last equation, here we go. I have my 62 plus my other 62 plus angle 4 that I'm trying to figure out, adding up to 180, and we're going to solve that. So I combine my 62 and 62 is 124. Drop down your x and 180 and then subtract. Solving this equation. This cancels out. This is x. 180 minus 124 is 56. 56 is up here. 56. 56, which also would be in the angle over there. Okay. I know this seems like a lot of steps, but they're simple basic steps like, oh, adding up to 180, adding up to 90, stuff like that. It's a lot of easy steps to figure that out. Okay. In the next example, we have this rectangle. They tell us JK, which is this side, is 12, so I'm going to put 12 on that side. And JM, which is over here, is 8. Finding the length of KM, I already used purple, KM is this side. We're going to put X on that. This is a right triangle. Oh my goodness. So I'm using this right triangle to solve for the diagonal. That's telling me we should be doing Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared. That looked just like this over here, using a squared plus b squared to get the diagonals. And so I'm going to label across from 90 is our C. This is A, this is B. So 8 squared plus 12 squared equals C, well, X squared. So we're typing 8 squared plus 12 squared in the calculator. 8 squared plus 12 squared is 208. And then we're square rooting. A lot of us are forgetting to square root. Make sure you actually have to push square root. That is not the same as dividing by 2. So square root 208. We got 14.42. Okay, so rounding to the nearest tenth of 2. Does that make 4 bigger or keep it the same? It's going to keep it the same. So final answer is 14.4. 14.4. And our last example, we have our rectangle again. It says diagonal DF. So this diagonal is 8x plus 4. And diagonal EG right there is 6x plus 12. Find the length of EG. So they're giving me the diagonals. What do I know about the diagonals? We know that the diagonals are equal. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Diagonals equal. Set them equal to each other. Okay, so one of them was 6x plus 12. The other one was 8x plus 4. We set them equal. We solve for x. So I'm moving the x's so they are on the same side. Six minus 8 is negative 2x. And then we're moving the 12 to the other side. Drop down negative 2x. 4 minus 12 is negative 8 divided by negative 2. We get x equals 4. But the question asked, what is EG? EG was 6x plus 12. So I got to plug in my 4 into 6x plus 12. So 6 times 4 plus 12. We're going to type that in decimals. Here we go. 6 parentheses 4 plus 12 is 36. So EG, final answer, is 36. Okay. Make sure you get to the questions on the angles. Those are probably going to be the hardest ones on the formative. The ones on Pythagorean theorem and on diagonals should be pretty easy for you to do. So make sure you get to some on the angles, but you guys can go ahead and get started on the practice.